There's a new album coming out in November. The title will be Just Fabulous Rock&Roll. And the artist involved is the Just Fabulous Sir Cliff Richard, who's on the line to us now. Good morning, Sir Cliff.
Ken, good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Excellent. Now, Just Fabulous Rock&Roll. Are you really going right back to your roots?
Yes, I am really. I mean, the last album was a couple of years ago, and I decided to call it the Fabulous Rock&Roll Songbook because I feel that rock and roll has its own songbook. You know, everybody thinks of the songbook, American songbook, as being classic old jazz stuff, and we've got classic rock and roll there ready to be picked out. And so I did the first album a couple of years back, and this one's going to come out on the 11th of November, and it's classic stuff, Everly Brother material, Little Richard stuff, Chuck Berry stuff. So it's right back to where I learned how to do it all. Those are the people I listen to, along with Elvis, of course, to learn how to do it. This rock and roll stuff was so overwhelmingly fabulous that we all wanted to do it, and some of us got lucky. Well, the Fabulous Rock&Roll Songbook, that was a big success. That got you back in the top 10. Yes, it did. I mean, you know, it's interesting that there obviously is an audience out there of a certain age group, and they're not going to stop loving the music they liked when they were 14 in their teens, and I'm one of those people. I love it. Yes, I every now and then hear something that I like from today, but for me, it never really quite stands up to the music of the Everly Brothers and Elvis and Jerry Lee Lewis, where there was a kind of liveness about it. You know, you knew darn well that when the drummer did his drum fill, would he get to the end at the same time everybody else does? You know, there's a kind of excitement to listening to music like that.
Into danger in the air.
Still with me. I still love it like that.
And of course, Move It, we remember. Can we say how long ago that was, or would you rather draw a veil over it?
Oh no, I don't know. Move It. Ken, if somebody asked me, have you ever recorded an iconic classic rock and roll song, I really would tend to go back to Move It because John Lennon, I love this quote, God bless John Lennon, he actually said at one point in an interview that certainly outside of America, he said there was nothing before Move It.
Wow.
And in a way, I suppose he was right, because by luck, the faders were all in the right position when we made that record, and it did come out sounding at least a little close to how the Americans were doing it, whereas we had no idea how to do it. And as I say, there's always a bit of luck involved in life, and I got lucky. The song sounded American. People thought I wasn't. When I first got Hank and Bruce to join me and created what was called then the Drifters, they thought when they came to meet me that I was American. So I was absolutely thrilled about that. So no, I have a very, very soft spot for Move It.
Magic in the air when that was recorded. Now, this album, you went to Nashville to record this.
I had, the last four albums I think I've done in Nashville. It was nice to go back. I recorded things like The Minute You're Gone and a couple of other tracks way, way, way back in the 60s in America. And when I went to Nashville, it was so exciting to be there. I don't know if you've been.
Yes, yeah.
Well, if any restaurant you go to, for instance, all the waiters and waitresses, they're actually singers or writers or musicians who are waiting to be discovered. And you know darn well at some point you're going to see some of them in the charts. They all just live for music. And it affects me whenever I go. I get affected by their fantastic... They can't wait to play. They can't wait to get into the music. It's just fabulous. So I've enjoyed it, and it seemed to me taking, going back to my grassroots with my love of rock and roll, it seemed the perfect place to go when you think I stood once where Elvis recorded Blue Suede Shoes and All Shook Up. They still have the mic in position. It doesn't work anymore, the mic. And so, it's still part of our musical history, even if some young people have never heard of Little Richard or Jerry Lee Lewis. It's part of the music they listen to today. It all happened because of that period.
And you got some great musicians playing on the tracks there. I mean, in particular, the one we're just about here, which you're going to announce for us in a moment or two.
Okay.
There's just a beautiful, guitar intro to that. It's just beautiful to listen to.
Well, it was a classic Chuck Berry song, anyway. And Chuck Berry played fabulous rock and roll guitar. In fact, funnily enough, we did one time. I did actually get Dwayne Eddy to come on the previous album called Something's Going On. 2 albums ago, I actually got Dwayne Eddy to come in, and he was very happy to play, and it sounded just like Dwayne Eddy. It was fantastic. And one other dream I had was to get some of the original guitarists who played on the original records to do it again, but do it now. But I couldn't find Chuck Berry. So Steve Mandel, who who's the producer of the album. He's also a fantastic guitarist. He's got a great band himself called Six Wire, and if you go onto the internet, you can find them on there. And he plays guitar right through the album, except on one track he got joined by oh my goodness, my brain's going. I'll think of it in a minute. But anyway. He plays the guitar on all the album tracks.
Well, fantastic. We're looking forward to hearing the forthcoming single from it. Just on a personal note, Cliff, you must be very relieved that all the travails and the stresses of the last few months are now behind you.
Yeah, it's not been the best 2 years of my life, but it's all gone. And, funnily enough, even though I knew it couldn't go anywhere, these things never happened, and so they couldn't go anywhere. But there's always that fear and the embarrassment of being talked about in those terms. So, yes, I'm so happy the cloud has been moved on, and I'm moving on with that. I'm not going to try and catch up with the cloud, but I'm moving on with my life.
Well, we're delighted you have a new album out and the new single. Before you leave us, can you tell us, please, Cliff, what the single is going to be?
Well, it's going to be a classic Chuck Berry track, and it's called Roll Over Beethoven. As he said, it was nothing to do with not loving Beethoven or Tchaikovsky and all that stuff. It was just a matter of saying to people, move over, there's a new art form coming. The new art form has grown into an older art form now, but it takes me right back to that moment when I first heard it.
Cliff,
Roll Over Beethoven.
A great pleasure to speak to you this morning. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Ken. Thanks for your help.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Sir Cliff Richard.